Good morning, everyone. My name is Greg, and today we're going to talk about nutrition. All right. This is a topic that everyone in here deals with because every single one of us eat every single day. I decided to become a registered dietitian because at the age of 11, I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, which is an autoimmune condition that changed my life. A lot of people would look at it like a negative thing, but I actually thank God that it happened to me because it really opened up my eyes to the world of health, wellness, and how I can advocate for optimal nutrition for my body and how I can come here today and teach you how to do the same for your bodies as well. So today we're going to be talking about dementia and diabetes as November is National Diabetes Month. We're all here learning about how we can improve our brain health, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Are we ready? So a little bit about me again. I'm a registered dietitian, husband, father, Christian, diabetes educator, men's fitness magazine advisory board member. So I do a lot of public speaking. I do a lot of group education, one-on-one education, as well as helping people find ways to optimize their nutrition. So how many of us, before this definition is up here, how many of us feel comfortable with the topic of diabetes? How many of us know someone or personally deal with diabetes? All right, so this conversation today will be relevant to everybody in this room today, right? If you were to if somebody were to ask you for the definition of diabetes, who thinks they have the optimal definition in here today? Look, it's not a test. No answer is wrong. Okay, something about your sugar, right? Somebody may say something about insulin, right? It's a combination of the both. So here's how I would describe diabetes. The diabetes is the body's inability to either produce insulin or use insulin. All right, insulin is a hormone that your body needs in order for your body to manage blood sugar. You eat something. For example, the couscous that we had in our salad today has carbohydrates. You eat that food, it gets metabolized or broken down into your body as glucose. And that glucose is in your body for energy purposes, for your brain, for your muscles, and etc. People with diabetes have a problem or issue with managing that glucose in the blood sugar. So what happens is that that blood sugar goes high because insulin has an inability to be effective. So people with type 1 like myself, I have to manually give myself insulin because my body doesn't produce any whatsoever. People with type 2 normally have insulin that their bodies produce, but at a diminished level to where they have to take oral medications. And in some cases, people with type 2 diabetes have to take insulin if their A1Cs are elevated. But to help their bodies get that sugar outside of their bloodstream into their brains, into their muscles for different function. Type 2 diabetes, if we can look at our lifestyle, we can help our bodies utilize insulin and utilize sugar a lot more effectively. How many of us knew that? Your lifestyle is a world of difference when it comes down to the management of diabetes. Now, here are two pictures here. The one on the left, you'll see what normal blood sugar looks like. It's those little yellow molecules. But on the right, you see that the blood vessel, basically that place in your body where blood is flowing, you see a lot more sugar molecules in there. Now, what do you think happens when an excess amount of sugar molecules build up in your blood vessels? Talk to me, y'all. It can clot, right? Inflammation. It can make it hard for blood to flow. That's why people with diabetes are at increased risk for heart disease, stroke, and even Alzheimer's and dementia. Now, when it comes down to it, the pancreas gives insulin, and that circle that you see right there is the cell. So let's say in your body, in your muscle, which takes about 60 to 80% of insulin that your body uses, that insulin attaches to the cell, and that sugar then goes into the muscle. So think about it this way. When you are physically active and you're using your muscles require glucose. It can get that from your bloodstream so that your blood sugar can go down while your muscles get stronger. Does that make sense? Yeah. That's why it's important for you to be active and move your body. But there's an interesting correlation between diabetes and Alzheimer's. How many of you have heard of type 3 diabetes? Now, this is not an official diagnosis. All right, it's not a real diagnosis, but researchers have begun to coin this phrase type 3 diabetes because there's a correlation between the diabetes that you have in your body and also too how your brain functions. You have something in your body called the blood brain barrier. When you have high amounts of sugar or your A1C is out of control or you're not taking care of your diabetes, that can cause the blood brain barrier to not allow insulin into your brain. Now, when your brain does not allow insulin inside of it, more and more sugar can accumulate. And as sugar is accumulating, it can cause damages. It can cause those tangles. It can cause those plaques. It can lead to Alzheimer's. As a matter of fact, insulin is one of the key hormones in the body that helps to break down those plaques in your brain. So if insulin can't get to your brain effectively, then all that sugar accumulation can lead to more tangles and more plaques, worsening your overall memory and your brain health. Does that make sense? Okay. And here are some stats I wanted to share with you. There's a 65% higher risk of developing Alzheimer's when you have diabetes. 81% of people with Alzheimer's disease also have type 2 diabetes. The CDC says by the year 2050, 35% of all Americans will develop diabetes. And there is a 28% lower risk of dementia by participating in diabetes management programs, aka managing your diabetes correctly. Aren't these stats pretty alarming? To see such a high correlation between diabetes and your brain health, there has to be something going on, and there must be something that we can do, right? Now, some additional correlations. Again, the high blood sugar causes issues in the brain, causing insulin resistance. The insulin can't get to the brain. You have what we call AGEs, which is called advanced glycation products. AGEs is a fancy medical term, but that's just a fancy way of saying that sugar is just sticking to your brain. Okay, it's glycating, sticking to your brain, causing more inflammation and more issues, which of course have negative effects on the brain. And here's a quote about those AGEs that I wanted to talk about. Advanced glycation end products, AGEs, accumulate in the brain, leading to neurodegenerative conditions such as Alzheimer's disease. We already saw that it's a correlation. Research also states and proves that there is a correlation. So if you're ever wondering, what should I take care more of, my diabetes or my brain? My answer to you is taking care of your diabetes is taking care of your brain. All right. There's no competition when it comes to your health. This is one large system working in different components affecting one another. Right? It's the same way somebody may ask me, what's more important, exercise or nutrition? Well, nutrition sets the stage, exercise uses the stage. Right? If you fill your body up with the right foods, the right nutrients, when you exercise, you will have a better exercise experience and your body composition will follow because of that. So we need to stop trying to pin this side of health and this side of health when it's all one body that we're working with, right? Now, who knows the right foods to eat for brain health? I will say this. The food that Chef Jarvis gave us today contained all of the components of what the Mind Diet says supports brain health. All right. So shout out to you and shout out to you for all eating it. Right. So shout out to you for all eating it. And also, too, shout out to those who ate it because they thought about waiting till they got home to have what they really wanted to eat. Y'all laughing like that's all you. I hope it's not you. So the Mind Diet is what research shows is very imperative when it comes down to your brain health. It combines components of the Mediterranean diet. How many of us have heard of the Mediterranean? How many of us have heard of the DASH diet? Those two come together to form what we call the Mind Diet. Mediterranean hyphen dash. I'm sorry, the letters are supposed to be going down. Mediterranean and dash. I is for interventions. N is for neurodegenerative. And D is for delay. right? So it's a fancy acronym that stands for Mediterranean Dash Interventions for Neurodegenerative Delay. There are 10 foods on the Mind diet, but we only have time to cover 4 of them today. So we'll cover 4 of them today, and hopefully I can come back to give you the other 6. All right. So today we're going to talk about berries. We'll talk about nuts and seeds. We'll talk about leafy greens, and then we'll talk about fatty fish. So let's talk about berries really quick. The Mind diet recommends at least 2 servings of berries per week. How many of us are eating berries at least twice a week? I mean, it's okay if you're not. After today, we're going to start. Okay. And what is considered a serving of berries? Half of a cup. Okay. So 4 ounces of berries is considered 1 serving. Now, here are some of the berries we're talking about, right? Whenever we're talking about berries, we're talking about all of them, whether blackberries, strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, they are very, very potent in fighting against brain disease. The fiber slows down glucose absorption. What does that mean? That means that if you were to drink a can of soda, we're not going to say any brand names because I'm not getting paid to say brand names. All right. If you were to drink a can of soda, that soda will shoot your sugar up like this. You know, I check my sugar all the time as somebody with diabetes. I'll tell you this, whenever I have something sweet, it's almost impossible for my sugar not to go up, regardless of how much insulin I take. So when you have something very sweet, especially those added sugars like soda, that shoots your sugar up like that, it makes it really hard for you to control your sugar. Your sugar's gonna go like this, then it'll go like this, then it'll go like that, then it'll go like this. And it's really hard. There's no balance. But when you eat foods like berries, berries slow down glucose absorption, meaning that instead of your sugar going up like this, your sugar's gonna go up like this. More controlled. That means you have better energy during the day. That means you're not dealing with those highs and lows during the day, those brain fogs during the day. That's what berries can do with the fiber in there. Now, there's also this fancy term called anthocyanins, which is a fancy word for antioxidant, which is another fancy word for just anti-aging food. Okay? Whenever you hear the word antioxidant, think anti-aging. That's literally what it does. Fights against aging and inflammation, and vitamins and minerals as well. So what I want you all to do today is after today, let's start eating more berries. Can we agree to that? Number 2, leafy greens. We just ate a whole salad. So you probably got your serving of leafy greens today. All right. The Mind diet recommends at least 6 servings a week. You see, you thought you was off the hook because you had it once today, but the Mind diet recommends 6 days a week. But Greg recommends every single day of the week. Okay, because that is right about 6 days a week. And 1 serving is about 1/2 cup cooked or 1 cup raw, which we surpassed that today with our salads. Okay. So leafy greens fall in this category, and there are a ton of them. These are just a few. Kale, spinach, Swiss chard, lettuce. Again, they have fiber in there. We're talked about fiber. And let me tell you this too. Fiber is very good for your gut health. Your gut health communicates with your brain health. And that fiber that you eat can really help to attack those tangles and those amyloid plaques in your brain, which is how it helps fight against Alzheimer's disease. Okay. You also have vitamins and minerals in there as well. So my tip to you, whether cooked or whether raw, eat your leafy greens every single day that you can. All right? Can we? Oh no, no. Oh, okay. We like the berries, but we don't like the leafy greens. That's what it is, right? That has to be what it is. You can, of course, you can double one day, but I mean, come on, are we really trying to ration our leafy greens? We should be trying to get them in as often and as many times as possible. That's the bottom line, okay? Number 3, nuts and seeds. So the Mind diet recommends at least 5 servings a week. 1 serving is about 1/4 of a cup. This one is interesting because, and again, all of the nuts and seeds are a part of this, right? We see almonds, walnuts, chia seeds, flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, which are great for brain health, but also great for prostate health too. So I always recommend pumpkin seeds. Pistachios, brazil nuts, we can talk about that all day long. They not only have fiber, but they have protein. They have vitamin E, which fights against brain inflammation. They have healthy fats. We've always been told throughout our lives that we need to stop eating fats or eat low fat. My challenge to you is not cutting out your fat intake, is choosing the right types of fats. The right types of fats come from nuts and seeds, plant sources, olive oil, right? They also come from fatty fish, which we'll talk about in a second as well. These types of fats help to lower your LDL cholesterol. Many of us are taking medications for high cholesterol. Many of us are just managing high cholesterol. Eating nuts and seeds, eating plant based fats can help fight against that high cholesterol. Okay? So we should include them as often as possible. And number 4 that we're going to talk about today is our fatty fish. The Mind Diet recommends at least 1 serving weekly. Okay, this is at least, so we can increase that if we really wanted to. And here are the fatty fishes that the Mind Diet recommends: salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardines, and herring. There are more, but they make a nice little acronym named SMASH. Okay, so if you want a cool way to remember it, SMASH. S for salmon, M for mackerel, A for anchovies, S for sardines, and H for herring. Now, all of these contain healthy proteins, healthy fats, and what we call polyphenols to support brain health. So, another antioxidant there. So, how many of us eat fish? I appreciate the honesty. Whoever said that, she said fried. Since she said fried, let's talk about fried fish real quick. Okay. Okay. Here's my thing about fried fish. It's not problematic if we're doing it sometimes. Okay. Like there's certain times in the year where we know we're gonna have fried fish, or we're going to an event that's gonna have fried fish, or we may go to our favorite restaurant that has fried fish. That's perfectly fine. But whenever we're dealing with diabetes, what we have to remember is that we have to watch our starch intake. Oftentimes, fried fish and fried chicken as well is breaded. So here we go eating a breaded patty of meat, fish, chicken, whatever it is. But then we have a large portion of mac and cheese, a large portion of rice, a large portion of corn, starch, 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 starch. Blood sugar going through the roof. Now we're sitting there saying, oh my God, I had corn. Why is my sugar so high? Because that corn is a starch. That fried chicken wasn't a starch when it was just regular chicken, but then it was turned into a starch once it was breaded and fried. Right. So if you are going to have fried fish, my recommendation is make sure you have your leafy greens in a large amount next to that fried fish or that fried chicken. Okay. That leafy green won't spike your sugar, but that fried fish will. I'll take questions at the end. Okay. I just wanted to mention fried fish because somebody was honest with me, and I appreciate that. No problem. Nuts and seeds, 5 servings weekly, and 1 serving is 1/4 of a cup. You'll share? Yeah, perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. Y'all share? Okay. Thank you. And then the fatty fish, here it is. Right. All right, so now what I want to do is let's take a look at some practical examples, because we always hear what to do. Okay, Greg gave me a whole bunch of foods to eat. I need to see them in a real life scenario. So let's take a look here. Sorry for that formatting. This is a Greek yogurt parfait. Okay, it combines Greek yogurt. We have our berries with the blueberries. You could do strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, whatever. Also have some walnuts in there for our healthy fats, our nuts and seeds category, and some cinnamon just to add some extra flavor and some addition there. Now, I'll tell you this is something that I go to almost every single night. Why? Because it's low in added sugars, it's higher in protein, and great in those overall nutrients that support my brain health and my diabetes. Okay. So something like this can be very tasty. And honestly, sometimes we have to reframe our thinking. I talk to my wife all the time. She's like, Greg, you want some ice cream? She knows I have diabetes, and she's not, wait, hold on. Gotta defend my wife. She's not doing it maliciously. She's just asking a simple question because she says, Greg, sometimes you're too rigid, it's okay. And I'm just like, you know what? You're right. I'll have like a 1/4 cup serving of ice cream and call it a day, right? But I had to reframe my mind to what I consider ice cream. And honestly, this is my ice cream. Okay. A protein shake is my milkshake. Like just simple mindset shifts like that can make a world of difference. Because when I first got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at the age of 11, my mom was already very strict with what we ate. So we were all confused on why I had type 1 diabetes. It was not in my family at all until later I found out that it's autoimmune. It could just happen, right? So a lot of stress saved in that time. But I had to learn what it was like not having regular juice anymore. I had to get accustomed to what it was not to what it was like not having one of those large bottles of I was about to say a brand name, but a soda, okay? I had to learn what that was like. And initially I tell you it was hard because watered down juice does not taste good unless you decide that watered down juice is going to taste good. And I've gotten to a point now where I can have a cup of juice and honestly it's too much. I have to dilute it with some water. My daughter was at church the other day in the nursery. She's 4 years old, and they gave her a cup of juice, and here she goes pouring some water in it, saying it's too sweet for me. And my friends text me who work in the nursery and said, "Greg, like, stop teaching your daughter, stop depriving her of life." Right? The truth is, we have to learn to get accustomed to what less sugar tastes like, and be okay with that. Because if we're going to cater to our emotions and feelings and the nostalgia 100% of the time, okay, that's great. But then real life will catch up and you have to face it regardless. So sometimes it's that rewiring and reframing of the brain. This right here is a quinoa salad with edamame and bell peppers. Very simple. Something like this, you can throw some chicken in there. You can throw some fish in there, right? You can throw whatever protein that you like in there, but it features whole grains. It features edamame, which is a really great plant-based protein, very comparable to all the animal-based proteins. Also the bell peppers, which kind of serve as our vegetables for a meal like that. Something like this can be incorporated as a side, as a main. I mean, whatever you want to make it is what you make it, but it can be great for your brain health. All right. This right here is a salmon salad and wheat crackers. Now, when I say salmon salad, I mean something in the category of like a tuna salad or a chicken salad, right? They also have salmon salads that you can get too. So you can do something like this with your favorite cracker. Okay, you can do it with a whole grain cracker, which is preferred, but you can do it with your favorite cracker and still reap the benefits of having that salmon or that fish or that chicken, whatever it is, right? And something like this can be a snack and also it can be incorporated into a meal as well. Very healthy, can support your overall health. I will say this as well. We can even try something like this with a rice cake, right? Sometimes what I like to do, I take a rice cake, I put some avocado on it and some smoked salmon. It's really good stuff right there, right? Really good protein, really good health benefits for your brain, for your heart, and everything like that. So something like this can be something that we add into our snack bag or even incorporate as a part of our meal. And then my favorite, water. Water, water, water. How many of us feel like we're drinking enough water a day, per day? Right? Everybody's water needs differ, but what I will say as a standard baseline is that we need to strive to drink half a gallon of water a day. Now, this is for general health. There are certain people that are fluid restricted. There are certain people that cannot tolerate that high load of fluid. I get it. But if we're talking about generally speaking, if you're relatively healthy and you're just like, how much water should I drink? These bottles of water, hold them up. Hold them up, hold them up, hold them up. Okay, that's a big one right there. I'm not talking about that one. But those bottles of water, four of these equate to half a gallon. How many of us feel like we're doing that a day? Yes, I love that. I love that. Good. So a lot of us are already at that minimal goal. How many of us feel like we got some work to do? All right, I appreciate the honesty. Right? Again, like I'm not over here judging you. I appreciate the honesty. Let's strive to get at least one more bottle a day. Right? Maybe we can make that small goal and then grow on top of that. One more bottle a day of water. Can we try to do that? All right. And the reason why I included the cucumber and the lemon, because there are certain ways that we can flavor our water to make it more appetizing, to make it more enjoyable. Because we are in the United States, we have luxury. luxury and luxury, so much luxury that we have to flavor water to make it taste good. Right? But you're also reaping the benefits of that lemon, of that cucumber, and you can enjoy your water. Flavored waters work as well. You can do seltzer water, which is like a carbonated water, right? It's like a carbonated soda without the sugar, right? The package looks really nice, but then you drink it and you're just like, ah, right? Again, you got to rewire your mind. Your body needs hydration. It doesn't need sugar in the form of hydration, right? If you're already getting the sugar from your fruits, if you're already having carbs like whole grains that break down into your body as sugar, if you compound that by adding more sugar via a beverage, it's causing dehydration, which will make you crave more sugar, right? That's why you drink a cup of juice and you can't just drink one cup of juice. Well, me, I can't even drink a cup of juice, right? But that's what it does. That sugar can dehydrate you, shoot your blood sugar up, and make it hard for your blood sugar to come down, right? So with that said, I want to leave with you 3 ways to support a functioning and healthy brain. I already gave you 4 foods. Now I want to leave you with 3 practical things that you can do. Are we ready? Are we enjoying the presentation so far? All right. It would be crazy if I just ended it right here, right? If I said, make sure y'all ask me to come back so I can come back and give you the rest. No, no, no. I'm going to give them to you today. Number 1, make water your primary beverage. This is no negotiation, right? This is not like, oh, let me feature water today. No, make water your main primary beverage. That water that you consume, I'll tell you what it does. Nutrients that you eat, there are certain nutrients that we call water soluble nutrients. So as you drink water, that vitamin C, that vitamin B can really absorb into your body and attract all the benefits that it comes with. So water soluble vitamins will be absorbed more easily. It supports the brain's hydration needs, and sugary beverages can lead to inflammation and more brain oxidation, aka brain aging. All right? Water as your primary beverage. Can we do that? Yeah. Number 2, colorful plates equal a functioning and healthy brain. If you're looking at your plate and your plate is only one color, brown, either because, I mean, what other color is it, right? It typically is just gonna be brown because you have your starch, your rice, then you got your chicken. There's a big old brown plate. No color, no life, no vitality, right? If we have more color in our plate, we attract more nutrients. Did you know that nutrients are classified by their pigmentation? Right? So if I eat a blueberry that's blue in color, and if I eat a sweet potato that's more orange, these are 2 different nutrients. Blueberries are anthocyanin, which is great for brain health. That sweet potato has a lot of vitamin A. It's a carotenoid, right? So different nutrients. So if we diversify the color of our plates, we diversify the vitality of our brains. Does that make sense? So instead of that plain old brown plate, let's try to add 1 or 2 more colors to that plate to bring it more life. And I'm not talking about red, purple, and red colored candies. We're talking about produce, real food. Can we do that? Colorful plates. And the last thing I want to mention, movement equals a functioning and healthy brain. I don't care if you can't move like you used to move in your 30s and your 20s, whatever the case may be. Movement after dinner time, when it comes down to diabetes, when it comes down to your brain health, can result in a lower A1C 3 months down the line. If you're looking for a way to automatically make an impact to your brain health, take a walk after dinner. Don't just sit there. I know the game is on. The game could wait a little, right? And sometimes you can watch the game because we live in America. We have the luxury. You can watch the game as you walk. The case in point is move more because that leads to a healthy and functioning brain. What that does is that sugar that your body is now consumed. Once you move, now your body, your arms, your limbs are requiring glucose. So that insulin is able to get that glucose into those cells, your blood sugar is able to drop, and your muscles are able to get stronger. Especially as we all are dealing with what we call sarcopenia. We're losing muscle day by day. As we age, our muscle mass is decreasing. So as you move your body more, you have meals that have protein in them. You diversify the foods that have brain health powers. You can have strong and healthy, robust muscles and live a healthy, robust life. Amen? Can we do that? So number one was water as your primary beverage. Number two was diversify the color of your plates. Number three, move more. Because here's the case in point. A strong mind is a man's most powerful muscle. Feed it good and flex it hard. That's what I have for you today.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. We're going to take questions. You guys can raise your hand. I'll find you. So, Mr. LaFortune, if you say 3 different colors on our plate, so we can't have like brown fish, red cocktail sauce, and white tartar sauce, that don't count. Is that?
No, that does not count.
Okay. Somebody asked me, so I want to make sure I get
That's
it right.
a great question, Chef. I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah,
No,
you got it. I'm here for you.
Does this mic work?
So are you able to use this one?
Oh, it's okay. Okay, sounds good.
We over here.
Thank you so much. Can we get some clarity about fruit sugars? Because there's a lot of information saying, smoothies and things of that nature. Can we get some clarity on whether fruit sugars are actually good for you, and is blending them a positive thing or a negative thing?
Great question. The truth when it comes down to fruit sugars is that all sugar is sugar. Okay, whether it comes from fruit or whether it comes from a candy bar, sugar is going to hit your body the same way, regardless of the source it comes from. The difference between a candy bar that's sweet and a fruit sugar is the fact that that fruit, and let's put a distinction between fruit and the fruit sugar, right? That fruit contains sugar, but it also contains a lot of vitamins, minerals, and fiber. So when your body gets that fruit, whether it's blended or as a whole fruit, whether it's frozen, whether it's canned, what will happen is that all the nutrients that's associated with that fruit will allow that sugar to be metabolized much more slowly. Now, when you have a candy bar that's just sugar, or that soda that's just sugar, there's no benefits attached to it. So that blood sugar is going to spike a lot higher. That's why you can have blueberries that have fruit sugar, but also have a lot of fiber and antioxidants that actually can bring your sugar down, in spite of the fact that it has fruit sugar. So eat your fruits, okay? When it comes down to smoothies, when it comes down to that, for people with diabetes, I wouldn't recommend just blending fruit as a smoothie or just like juicing fruit as a beverage, right? But combining it with more protein and other healthy fats as a whole package can help deliver that sugar a lot better in your body.
Got one right here.
You mentioned about fruits. How do we classify bananas, apples, and grapes?
Bananas and grapes are two of the higher, what we call glycemic fruits, so they can make your sugar go up even more, compared to berries, which is what we call a low glycemic fruit that doesn't make your sugar go up nearly as much as banana, grapes, and some of the other ones go. What I would say when it comes down to certain fruits is when you pair that fruit up with the protein, it makes the absorption of that sugar better. Let me give you an example. Instead of the entire banana, maybe somebody with diabetes or prediabetes cuts that banana in half and eat it along with peanut butter. That peanut butter is a healthy fat and a protein. When combined with that sugar in the banana, can allow that sugar to not be a cause of a spiked blood sugar so much because it has something else attached to it as compared to just eating the banana. If we're having grapes, maybe we can have a side of some cubed cheese, right? And instead of mindlessly eating the grapes, maybe we can actually portion out the grapes. Have a couple of, the cube cheeses, right? The cheddar cube cheese, right? That's protein that can really help with the delivery of that sugar that comes from the grapes. So pairing up the fruits with the protein oftentimes works very well for people with diabetes and people looking to just overall minimize their sugar intake.
No, finally, in the food preference, you mentioned shrimp. I think shrimp is high in cholesterol.
Shrimp is high in cholesterol. However, what's more important with your overall blood cholesterol is the type of fat that you're eating, okay? Studies have shown that shrimp, as well as eggs, both foods being high in dietary cholesterol, actually can support your good cholesterol as well. So that's why it elevates your cholesterol to some regard. It's not necessary to eliminate it. If you're noticing that you have high cholesterol and shrimp or eggs are a trigger, yes. But in general, I would look at those saturated fats that come from animal meats, that come from those sweets, pastries, and donuts, more so than looking at eggs or shrimp.
All right, we have a question over here to the right.
What about cabbage? Does that fall into the leafy greens?
Cabbage is not a leafy green.
Oh, it's okay.
The Mind Diet, I'll give you another one. So I'll give you 5 today. So I don't have to give you 6 next time I come. Other vegetables are also a part of the Mind Diet. Cabbage falls under other vegetables. So leafy greens is a specific category of vegetables, while cabbage falls under other vegetables, also a part of the Mind Diet as well.
All right, we got right here.
What about your melons? Watermelon, honeydew melon, cantaloupe? What about those?
Yeah, those have high percentages of water, but they also have some sugar in there, right? And it's the same recommendation I gave earlier. Whenever somebody with diabetes or prediabetes or somebody who's watching their sugar has those types of foods, try to pair it up with something else to help break down how fast that sugar goes up because of that food, right? Now, keep in mind, that's just the sugar part. There are other vitamins like vitamin A. Watermelon's high in nitric oxide that can really help with blood flow, especially for men who have like erectile dysfunction and other things like that. So these foods serve other purposes. But when it comes down to the sugar aspect, for people with diabetes, that's the main concern. And that's why I would pair those foods up with something else.
All right, so we have a question over here. So also, just to piggyback on that, how many people just eat the red part of your watermelon? Does anybody eat the white part as well? Does anybody eat the green part? Did you know that the white part is edible? You guys didn't know that. All right. So when Ms. LaFortune is talking about pairing up your fruit so you don't just consume so much sugar, that also includes eating the entire fruit, right? You can eat the white part, and if you scrub the outside of that green watermelon, you can eat part of that rind as well. So just a little food for thought, no pun intended.
Also the skin of apples, the skin of your fruits can also help with that glucose absorption too.
Yeah, you can eat the skin of almost all fruits, right? I wouldn't suggest eating banana peels, but you can eat the mango skin, you can eat dragon fruit skin. A lot of the skin that we peel off and discard, you can actually consume. So research that on your own and see how much of the actual fruit you're throwing away that's edible. We have a question right here.
Yes, good morning. People with diverticulitis, they say not to eat any type of nuts. So you said we eat nuts. Is there one you recommend that we try or a substitute that we could eat instead of the nuts?
So diverticulitis is a little bit different. That's more going into the GI tract. Very personalized, individualized situation. Nuts can actually agitate diverticulitis, so I wouldn't right off the bat recommend that somebody with that condition eat high fiber that comes from nuts, right? There are other sources of fiber that the body can possibly tolerate better. That can come from sources like oatmeal maybe. That can come from what we call soluble fibers like oatmeal, fruits, right? Those types of fibers may be a little bit more gentle for that condition rather than the nuts and seeds that can be a lot more rough and hard for the body to manage. So it just depends on the individual.
Sir, in terms of a flare-up of your diverticulitis, there have been some studies looking at popcorn because of the small kernels and nuts. And in some people, it doesn't happen, but then there are others who swear up and down that it does. So that's the case where you're going to have to really pay attention to your body.
Got a question right here.
You were mentioning salmon as a protein. How about chicken breast in an air fryer? Is that a good way to cook your chicken or is chicken a good protein?
Yeah.
First of all.
Yes, chicken is a great protein. We have what we call, protein, which has all the amino acids, also choline, B12, that can support brain health as well. So yes, chicken is great. Using the air fryer, look, whatever way we can use less oil is the preferred way. So if we're gonna cook our chicken in the air fryer that requires its own natural oils and greases, much more preferred than putting it in a skillet with oil that you put in there.
And a lot of reasons why we like frying our fish is because it comes off more moist, right? but the surface area of any protein is what makes it tough. So you think about the chicken that you had today, that was chicken breast. But because it was such small pieces, it tastes nice and tender and moist. So if you're steaming your chicken, or if you're baking your chicken, or if you're tossing in the air fryer, like Gregory said, no oil, the smaller the pieces are, the more tender it's going to be. So just keep that in mind.
So here's one. If you're gonna make your own meat salad, like you're gonna make your own tuna salad, your own chicken salad, do you have any recommendations about what to maybe replace the mayonnaise with instead of using mayonnaise? Is there something else that you can use? And also, can you just say something about sugar substitutes?
When it comes down to mayonnaise, first off, mayonnaise shouldn't be the main ingredient in any chicken or tuna salad, okay? But if we're looking for a more optimal product to use, we can use mayonnaise that was made with olive oil. We can use mayonnaise that was made with avocado oil. For some people, they just like to use avocados in general, right? Because that's also a source of healthy fat there. So you can use those sources of foods. But in general, let's just find ways that we don't have to maximize the mayo. I know some people who are very, I like, did you just eat tuna salad or mayo salad? Like a little excessive there.
So, Mr. LaFortune, I can take it you're not bringing the potato salad to the family picnics.
Probably
If
not.
you bring some
That-
potato salad with avocados in it, brother.
But on that note, one thing I
You've
would
done it
like
before?
for you to address, Mr. LaFortune, one thing I would like for you to address is organic. Do you know like what that means on food labels, and can you inform these gentlemen what that's telling them?
Yeah.
Because sometimes people think, well, organic may be better, but there's something to that.
Yeah. So the term organic just goes to show what type of pesticide or herbicide was used on the product. Okay. This is very important because an organic potato versus a non-organic potato is still a potato, right? Meaning that somebody with diabetes, you're not going to have a difference in reaction from an organic potato versus a non-organic potato. But it's just the way that it was processed and the type of product used on it during the development and maturation of that product. Now, organic products use pesticide, believe it or not, but natural, organic pesticide, right? So that's why you may see them perform a little bit better because they're more exposed to more natural environments compared to the non-organic pesticide. That one looks all perfect and all fancy and all dressed up really nicely because they were able to manufacture a pesticide with certain chemicals in there that can be harmful, right, to make it appear as it has no blemish or anything like that. Now, should we get only organic? Now, if you believe, live, and swear by it, okay, if that makes you comfortable, fine. My concern is that we're not eating enough of healthy foods in general for me to say you have to purchase all organic. Because if I can get you to get to the point where we can decrease that sugar intake even from non-organic sources of food, then maybe we could have another conversation on, okay, which one should I get organic and which ones should I get non-organic? Added sugars, somebody brought that up. Sugar substitutes, Splenda, Sweet and Low, all those, they're not real sugars. The body doesn't really metabolize them very well. In the short term, they can impact blood sugar for good, but long term, they can cause more harm. So my overall recommendation, if you're going to a party and you have diabetes and they only have the low sugar beverage or the sugar-free beverage, and you're concerned about your sugar going up because you're going to eat a lot of carbs in that meal, go ahead and get the sugar-free beverage. Now, should we make that a staple item in our fridge? I wouldn't recommend that.
All right, we got a question right here.
You spoke about Greek yogurt. There's a lot of kind of Greek yogurt. Can you tell us whether it's plain or strawberry or honey or what kind of Greek yogurt?
I often recommend the plain ones because a lot of times the other ones have too much sugar. Now, depending on your level of activity, you can get away with it and be perfectly fine. Depending on how well you're managing your diabetes or just in general, you could be fine. But oftentimes they have a little too much sugar, from my personal opinion, and too much added sugar at that, right? So not the sugar that comes from the actual fruit that's in there, but they're also adding sugar on top of that. And that's kind of where I'm just like, let me take a look deeper into this. So I would much rather you get a plain Greek yogurt, add your fruits to it, that'll naturally sweeten it up, add your nuts or seeds, and then you call it a day. Have you a nice little parfait.
But does it taste good?
It does taste good. It does taste good. It does taste good.
Here, you said something that I want you to touch on about this idea of people depriving themselves. And you know what? You're not depriving yourself, you're honoring yourself. So when it comes to nutrition, just 20, 30 seconds on that mentality and how we can honor ourselves and not deprive ourselves.
Yeah, the truth is, healthy food doesn't have to taste bad. And that's what people need to understand. We can still eat healthy and still season our food at the same time, right? So it's not necessarily depriving yourself. And who's to say that the ultimate reward in life is to eat a lot of sugar? Again, it's the mindset shift, right? What are you depriving yourself of? You might be depriving yourself of brain fog later on. Isn't that a good thing? Right? So the appeal of the sugar is far more valuable than what the actual sugar does for your body. So if we can think of more so, how can I honor myself by actually eating a little bit healthier, decreasing my sugar? I think that's a better way to look at it.
My question, if you want to monitor your blood sugar levels, when is the best time to do that? Day, morning, night?
I would say in general, morning time would be the prime before you eat anything in the morning. That's what we call a fasting blood sugar. That gives your body, that gives you a good measurement of how your blood sugars average out in general. So that morning time before you eat is the best time. After a night of fasting is the best time to check your sugar. Now, you should check in other times depending on your doctor's recommendations. If you want to know what your sugar is before you eat to know how much insulin to take, that's important too. But generally speaking, morning time would be the most recommended.
Got one right here.
You mentioned the fatty foods earlier, and my question is about sushi. Those of us who eat salmon, salmon, and sometimes tuna as a meal, as sushi is concerned.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts on that?
Just as long as it's prepared safely.
It's raw. I'm referring to the.
Correct, correct. Even in the preparation of raw fish, it should be handled and prepared safely. For people that might be at more risk for bacteria and other things like that, I wouldn't recommend all the time. But again, that's more of an individualized. But whether cooked or raw, it's still going to have the same nutrient composition to it. So it can still be a part of a healthy, balanced diet as long as it's safe to eat.
You talked about the mind diet, and the sushi brings to mind the idea of paleo diets and keto diets. What do you think about those?
Keto, I wouldn't recommend it. I'm just being honest with you. I wouldn't recommend it entirely because we hear keto and we start eating bacon and sausage and we start going crazy with the keto, okay? And what unfortunately happens with keto that people don't tell you is that it can raise your LDL cholesterol, okay? This is the cholesterol that's not healthy. It can cause more plaque buildup in your arteries because of the high amounts of saturated fats that people are eating. So I wouldn't recommend keto. Paleo is a little healthier because it still incorporates some fruits, which is fine. But in general, we shouldn't have to stick to a paleo or keto diet as it restricts a lot of foods that can also be incorporated in a healthy diet as well.
I have a question about one of the items on your screen, sardines, and then someone just mentioned tuna fish. I've been eating tuna fish most of my life.
Good.
And I used to eat sardines. Now I buy them for my dogs because a friend told me that sardines are good for your dog's skin and all like that. But my question is, I was at a cross-country meet with my family, and I made some tuna fish sandwiches, and my son-in-law, who's very nutritionally cognizant about what's good and bad, he said, "Why are you eating that?"
You said something about mercury?
No. He says, "Do you know how long that tuna fish has been in that can? Do you know how long the sardines have been in the can that you're giving to your dogs?" And I never thought about that. So what's your opinion about tuna fish, sardines, anything that's in a can? He says, "You don't know how long they've been there. That's not," he said, "it's not good for you." That's my question.
Yeah. I think it's a good.
Verify, are you asking about like metals from the cans leaching into the meat, or?
So the process of canning is not a novel process. It's not new. The process of canning is very old. And actually the process of canning helps to preserve foods for extended amounts of time. So it's a nice theory. It sounds good. When you say, oh, it's been in there for so long, you're just like, oh, wow, it has, right? But where's the research and evidence to back that up, right? Where is the actual overall like studies that show that this is harmful, and what did those studies show exactly? That's what I would ask this person here. So in general, I wouldn't be overly concerned about it. It sounds nice as a theory, but ultimately, I don't think it holds much weight after that.
Also, really quickly, talk about what's in the can with the actual sardines, because sardines in water, sardines in hot sauce, sardines in soybean oil. Talk about that really quick.
Very good. Canned in olive oil is always going to be my prime recommendation. Okay, so very, very great point. Oftentimes, watch what they're canned for, right? For example, a lot of us eat fruit cups, right? Sometimes those fruit cups are canned in heavy syrup, a lot of sugar. The fruit already has sugar, right? That syrup is a preservative. Okay, fine, but I don't need all that extra sugar. Get the one that's canned in water, right? These are just very simple things, no-brainer things that you can do to impact your overall health.
Just wanted to quickly ask, are there any spices that you could recommend that would be good health enhancers?
Yeah, I would say spices-wise, any and all of them are going to be great. Limit your overall sodium. Any herb and spice is free game for you to season your food unless you're allergic or have some specific medical concern. For example, people that have acid reflux, we typically recommend not eating citrus, not eating spicy foods, things like that, as it can agitate. But in general, the only spice herb that you are to limit and watch out for overall is your salt, which means that you can have any of them in all amounts. But we always get mad when we can't eat salt. I'm just like, that's only one thing. Like, there's a ton of them.
Greg,
Yes, sir.
speak for a few moments, please, about eggs. You know, when I go in the store, I see this has got omega and whatever, age-free and blah, 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 blah. What's all that about, and what do you recommend? What kind of eggs should we actually eat?
Yeah, eggs are eggs. They're all processed differently. Your cage-free eggs typically might be better. I mean, there's really nothing to actually show that the nutrient profiles of these different types of eggs are different. The raising of the egg is really where these labels come from. You have pasture, the ones that have roamed free in the pasture. Like, okay, it still has the same amount of protein as the one that didn't, but the one that roamed free in the pasture probably lived a better life.
He was
So-
a happy egg.
So I
That's
mean,
important. Happy eggs.
I mean that does that correlate to like nutritional differences? Possibly, maybe a little bit. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. So in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it matters all that much. If you have access to purchase the cage-free, if you have access to purchase the free roaming one, that's perfectly fine. If you don't, then you can still reap the benefits of eating an egg.
I'm a type 2 diabetic, and
Okay.
I was curious, like when I do potato salad or something, I always soak my potatoes in water like 2 or 3 days prior to making the potato salad and keep draining them. Does that help in any type way?
It can a little bit, right? You can actually like soak your beans or soak your potatoes. Some of that starch, you'll start to see it kind of like rise to the water, and that's fine, but it's still gonna have starch. I mean, it's still mainly a starch. So I can't tell you what percentage of it that you waxed away with water per se, but like it still has a starch in there. It might be a little bit better, but I don't think it's noticeable enough to notice differences in your blood sugar.
Two more questions.
Water. Water's good for your kidneys also, but there are applications that you put on your phone that tell you when and where and how to drink your water. So you should get one of those, put it on your phone. And
Yes.
it comes on, tells you you don't drink so much water and this and that. But also, I want to ask you about honey. Right now, there's talk about honey and dementia and all that kind of stuff. And this is a cure-all for dementia. What does honey do to your body?
That's a very big question. What does honey do for your body? So honey contains like nutrients that can help when it comes down to different parts and aspects of your body. I mean, honey is still primarily going to be a sugar, okay? And this is what I want people to know. Honey is primarily a sugar. So think of it in the same category as sugar, any sugar, okay? Now, there might be some what we call trace minerals in the honey. You know, you might have some additional like nutrient benefits there, but it's not a big old miracle food that's going to cure diabetes or solve any large scale health issue or problem. In general, your appetite decreases as you grow, and the ability for your body to recognize thirst or dehydration also may dissipate with that as well. I don't know if there's a more clinical answer, but that's kind of how I would answer that.
Brain changes with aging, right? Now, in part, when you become thirsty and something called sodium or salt in your body goes up and it gets to a critical point, I don't know if this is nature's cruelty or kindness, but the thirst mechanism will decrease.
And also, if you feel thirsty, it's already too late. You're dehydrated, right? Some of the signs of dehydration is dry lips. So we keep putting Carmex on, we're actually really dehydrated and thirsty. Let's go here, and then we're going to go here.
I have a question. Sweet potato or white potato? Which is better or
Yeah.
have less?
I would say I'd give the sweet potato a little edge over the white potato. They're both starches. They both have a very similar nutrient profile. However, that orange pigment in that sweet potato means that it's high in an antioxidant called carotenoids, which means that it's high in vitamin A. So much so that sweet potatoes compared to white potatoes are hundreds and hundreds times more abundant in vitamin A. So that's where they have the big edge. And your vitamin A is going to be good for your eyes, your skin, your hair, your nails, and things like that. So that's why I'll give sweet potato the edge, but they have a very similar nutrient profile.
We got one right here.
What's the difference between the A1C reading and the glucose, and which one should I look at more closely?
Your glucose reading is a reading right here, right now, today. Your A1C is an average of the past 3 months. If you want a large-scale picture of your diabetes and your management, look at the A1C. If you want to know what your sugar is right now, right here, look at your blood glucose. So A1C measures larger scale. Glucose is just right here, right now.
All right, this is our last question, guys. Stand up.
Yeah, Justin, another on water. You know, we get it. It's primary, and thank you for the, cucumber or lemon. But if you had to come up with a smart alternative occasionally to what's primary, have you discovered anything that's smart?
I would say either a all natural flavored water. I can't tell you brands off the top of my head. So what I mean by all natural is water and natural flavorings as the ingredients, not the artificial sweeteners, but water and natural flavoring, or the same concept for a carbonated beverage. There are tons of them where it has carbonated beverage and natural sweetener, natural flavors as the only two ingredients. Those would be the most comparable to just a standard water. Juice does not make the cut. No, sir.
Thank you, Mr. LaFortune. This has been wonderful.